And girls, welcome to tonight's leadership training. I got a freaking treat for you guys tonight. I'm not going to be up awkwardly writing on the whiteboard thing. Instead, I found a way to look at this, dude. Look at this. I found a way to hello. My name is Hayden. So I can write on my iPad and demonstrate everything for you guys. And I'm about to blow you guys away. Okay. Yeah, this is going to be awesome. I'm pumped for tonight's training, guys. So everybody that's on this call, what we went over last time, you guys can go back and watch the episode from last time. I'm going to leave in the description the link to last time's episode where we went over the identity statement in your statement of definite purpose. Make sure that you're watching modules 1, 3, 4, and 6, because in those modules, 1 just kind of orients you towards like what matters most, and then how do you get really excited about like what you're selling this summer, this sales season, right? And your sales reps. Module 2, is an overview of like the idea of say the inner game or the outer game, or like your heart and mind versus your outward facing skill set. Modules 3 and 4, which are the ones you need to be focused on. So 1, 3, 4, and 6. 3 is all about your ability to create the vision for your life that you want down the road. That includes at the end of your life, and then also an massively audacious 3 to 5 year life. Build that out for yourself. And with the idea and the assumption in mind that you're not going to be the same person in 3 to 5 years. Literally, you will not be the same person physically. You won't be the same person emotionally or spiritually. So you might as well set a goal that you actually want and build a life for yourself that you actually want in the form of your first creation, so that you can go execute on that. And then module 4 is all about the statement of definite purpose. Okay. So last week, let's just go over a little bit of an overview of what we talked about last week. So we essentially built out the blueprint for the statement of definite purpose. What is the statement of definite purpose? It's our audacious 1 year goal. And I just say 1 year, and what I mean by that is season, though. So like this is for your sales season. Okay? And it's the audacious thing that you are going to achieve this sales season. And the same rule applies. You can go re-script yourself to go do something freaking amazing, but you need to be serious about it, and it needs to be driven from a place of real, like actual fundamental unchangingness in your core based on true principles. And that's what we're going to talk about, how to actually do that today. And then we're going to really start building this out together. Okay. So make sure you're taking notes. If you guys aren't subscribed to what I'm doing on all of the platforms, you need to get on board, because I'm freaking going over the stuff that actually matters. Okay. I'm going over things every day. I'm releasing content, and my team's helping me release content. So it's not necessary. I usually will spend 1 day out of the week or an hour a day in my free time. I'll build out time to go document this type of content so that you guys can use it in bettering yourselves and becoming the best version of you. And I'm leveraging the best of the best in order to make this appealing, enticing, but fundamentally attached to how you become the best version of you and achieve massively audacious goals that you could never achieve otherwise. So make sure that you're following along for all of that. We also have our huge event this weekend in Southern Utah, so make sure that you're registered for that too. We have a bunch of people that are registered. We're going to be giving away massive prizes, pickleball tournament. We rented an entire like indoor trampoline park with blow up things everywhere that are just so awesome. It's freaking dope. Make sure that you guys are going to that, and then bring people that you think might be a good fit for your sales teams. Okay, so the structure of the SDP, the statement of definite purpose, this is the very thing that will ensure your highest likelihood of achieving success this sales season, okay? And it doesn't matter that we're getting close. You can still go do this, especially for, and this is what you guys need to be teaching to your sales reps. So here's the blueprint and the structure, okay? The first part of this is your identity, your unchanging identity, and your mission. And this is your unchanging, unique mission. So that's the first thing that we're going to state, okay? I'm just listing out the steps here, so list them along with me. Number 2 is your desired outcome for this season. Now, this structure passes the stress test of truth, meaning, we hear Jason say all the time, and my favorite quote from him is, how you do anything is how you do everything, right? Well, what I've found that like the reason why I'm so passionate about teaching this stuff, you guys might be wondering, like, why does Hayden care so much about this? Well, because how you go about using these principles to achieve your sales goals is how you go about living a life that is worth living. If it applies to anything and works in a principle fundamentally effective way, like we're talking about here, it will apply to everything and work in the same principle-centered, truth-centered, fundamentally sound, effective way. And that's why this matters. This template is the thing you can use to go design the life that you want and to convince people to do good things in their lives, all of that, okay? So number 2 is the desired outcome. In the desired outcome, we are going to have a time-based goal that is going to be in present tense. I'll show you what I mean by that. It's going to be emotional. We're going to future pace ourselves at the end of the goal and say, how would I feel when I achieve it? And then has to be positive. It cannot be negative, even in the slightest. Even in the slightest, it cannot be negative. And we'll talk about that as to why. And then there's one other thing Covey says here. I'm going to go to my split screen here with my book. You guys I got some freaking good production going on here, right? This is me by myself switching around to these different views. This took a long time to figure out, by the way. Anyway, so here what Covey says is that a good affirmation has 5 basic ingredients. It's personal. Oh, that's the other thing. And obviously it's personal to you, right? So that's the first thing. It's personal, it's positive, it's present tense, it's visual, and it's emotional. And the last, so basically for us, there's going to be 6 principles here that are important because we need to make sure that it's actually visual, so you can actually see the outcome, visual. And so if we're listing this in order of how Covey says it, okay, then this is how we're going to write it here. Listing this in the order of how Covey says it, we're going to write it like this. These are the things that we actually care about when we're talking about this, okay? So first off, it has to be personal. Why? This is our goal. It's personal. This is the thing that we are achieving this sales season, okay? It has to be positive, right? It has to be present tense. For us, this definitely needs to be time-based, so we are listing the time by which we're going to accomplish it. And then it's got to be emotional and visual. So 5 and 6 is emotional and visual. All right. Now, when we're talking about, I'm gonna outline the difference in this training between your SDP versus an affirmation. Okay, because that's important to understand. Like, what's the difference between the two? And we're actually going to leverage both of these things, but we need to first get out the SDP. The SDP is how I would describe it. It's like the final outcome. But if you listen to anyone who's achieved anything in their life, especially the one that most strikes me is David Goggins, when he talked about like what separated those that made it through buds and became Navy SEALs versus those that rang the bell and they lost their souls, basically. It's the fact that everyone in that group, both those that won and that lost, everyone visualized the final outcome. They all wanted to be SEALs really bad, okay? And not many of them wanted it worse than others, really, honestly. So if you listen to him talk about it, he's like, the people that failed, they wanted it just as bad. But the difference was those who made it, they not only visualized the end outcome, but they saw every step of the way. And that, for us here, is the difference between the SDP and the affirmations. So it's like, it's the difference between each step and the final outcome. And we're going to leverage both of those things here. Okay. So, that's just to give you an idea, that's what we're talking about when we get into the desired outcome. So now section number 3, because this is a document that's basically saying like, this is what I stand for this sales season. This is my constitution for the sales season, and it's outlining, saying, this is what I'm setting out to achieve, and I will stop at nothing. I will go do this, okay? It's happened. It already happened. Putting our stake in the ground, it's like our title of liberty, saying this is what we care about. Number 3 is what am I willing to give in return for the goal? And it's essentially it's connecting what you're actually doing in order to achieve the goal. And so section A is basically like direct service in return for the goal. And then section B of step number 3 here is you're essentially stating what the constraints that you have are in your life. So constraints. And what I mean by constraints are constraints for me as I've defined this, because what I found is like as people get caught up in doing the statement of definite purpose, one of the objections you could give is like, Hayden, because you're going to find, you put your SDP right here, there's a lot that goes into that, right? But the main thing you want to put is your sales goal. You want to go achieve something awesome this summer. You want to. I know everyone does. But oftentimes we make the excuse and we say, well, I'm so focused on that sales goal, I'm losing sight of the other things that matter to me. And so like I don't want to give those things up. That's what constraints are. So what I'm doing is like I'm putting my stake in the sand and saying I will make, let's say you want to make $500,000 this summer. I will make that much money. But the constraints then are you saying, but I will not do so and fail at these following things. So for me, what the constraints are is my roles in my life. They're the roles. And essentially I'm going to be stating like living with integrity inside of those roles while achieving the goal. Living with integrity while achieving the audacious goal. And why that's important that we do it this way is because we really have to understand and get to this point where we can say like, okay, I really know what I'm after now. I really know that what I want, but that doesn't mean I have to put all the other things in my life aside in order to go achieve it. In fact, when I list my constraints and I say, I will not do this while being a worse husband, I will not go achieve this goal. And that this is negative, but because you're not supposed to put that anything negative in your SDP. But what I'm getting at here is you need to really identify how you might fail along the way, and really like what things you absolutely will not fail at while achieving that goal. That's what your constraints are. So for me, I put my constraints, and I essentially have a blanket statement that says like I am living with integrity while achieving this goal. I am living with integrity in all the roles of my life. And not only that, I'm becoming a better version of myself in all of those roles because of my attainment of this goal. That's really important to put because it's going to connect your mind. And I'm going to show you guys kind of what I do where I have this meditative practice of I actually go through, I have like a 12-page document that's my SDP. It's not what I put in to think up, but it's like my running document of like what I'm doing in order to achieve the goals that I'm setting out for myself. And for this particular sales season. And I'm saying like, hey, achieving this goal is not worth sacrificing being a good leader. Achieving this goal is not worth sacrificing being a good husband. So the positive version of that is while I'm achieving this goal, and even because of it, I am becoming the best version of myself, and I'm living with integrity in all the roles of my life. So you might put something like, while I'm achieving this goal, and because of it, because of its attainment, I'm living with integrity. Attainment. Sorry guys, the dyslexia coming on full. I'm achieving this goal. I'm living with integrity. Okay, so that's section number 3. I'm getting into the nitty gritty here, guys. I'm sorry, but it's okay. This is super important stuff here, I think. Okay, so now section number 4 is we're getting into the plan, all right? The plan. And the plan, you can put this kind of anywhere, but like I actually I like to write the plan down as ideas come to my mind. But I essentially am going to state like I'm awaiting this full plan and I'm acting on the elements of this plan in faith as I receive them. So I'm awaiting the plan, the full plan, and I'm acting on it in faith as I receive it. and then I'm acting as I receive it. Okay. Now, you might put other things right there as well, as like whenever I feel like I'm not executing well on this plan, even though I'm attempting to act in faith and that is leading me to the end outcome, something along those lines. But essentially in my document of my SDP, and I hesitate to pull it up because I've got some really personal stuff in there and I don't really yet want you guys to see my like the financial goals that I have on there and stuff like that, even though one of them is increasing my net worth by $4 million this year, which will definitely happen. My Moxie net worth, I believe, will increase by $4.36 million this year when we go do the bare minimum of what I think we're going to do as a sales program, which you guys can take part in all of that too, and have your own net worth increase like that over time as well as you become sales owners. But that's not the one I don't want you guys to see. I'm happy talking about that. It's like some other stuff that I'm like, in my goals, I have so much reverence for them. I'm really trying to take them seriously and not get a dopamine hit by sharing them with other people. Because if I share on this call how I feel about the things that I really, really want to do, they're like kind of unique and like they're the audacity parts of this, the audacious parts of my SDP, then I risk getting a dopamine hit by sharing it and the excitement of sharing it, and people think like, oh, that's so awesome, and not by actually going and achieving it. So I'm like having a reverence for it, if that makes sense. But that's what section number 4 is it's this idea of the plan. And then section number 5, Roman numeral 5, is where we are going to state that what the goal represents. Sorry, the visualization actually is the next part. Actually, guys, I forgot one part of this. I'm recalling it all by memory, and I've actually made a couple tweaks to the SDP stuff, which is like, you can go watch how I talked about the SDP in the modules, and that's actually what attributed to me achieving just massive, wild success. Matteo Rasmussen did the exact same thing. Braden Searle, when he was the top rep in the company, was doing something very similar. A lot of these points I've adopted from him and other people. Everyone that has done this right and stuck to it, reciting it morning and night, has had massive, massive success. And they actually achieve the things they set out to do. There's one more element of this part where we are talking about the plan. So part A is I'm awaiting the plan, the full plan, and like I'm receiving it as I really start to mold this over in my mind as I repeat it morning and night. Part B is I'm acting in faith as I receive that plan. C, you might say, like, I'm giving myself some grace along the way. And then D, if there's a part D here, what it would be is, what am I using the money for? And as I would rather you just put something in here to repeat it back to yourself that's connected with your audacious goal than have it down perfect. So like, you might not know, oh, I don't know what I'm using the money for. Well, for me, I already know right away I'm donating to charities to help, literally actually actively help children with autism, Operation Underground Railroad. I'm donating to addiction recovery for teenagers and for trauma therapy for women involved in men who are addicted in their lives. And I'm doing that through a really good counseling service where the therapy is just too expensive to afford through insurance. So that's something that's really important to me, as I've seen and have witnessed a lot of that in my own life. And I've seen the results and effects of it in people that I love and care about. And so interpret all that how you will. But I've been involved with, people who have hurt their families because of that, and I've seen what it does to the women, and so that's something that I really want to give back to. My wife has seen that, and so we, in her own family, we want to really be able to help and serve those people, right? And so part of my plan is that I'm using the money for that, and I want to remind myself that the SDP does not need to be perfect. It just needs to connect my mind and remind my mind of what I'm after. And that's what I'm repeating back every day. The full document that I have, I'm going to be listing and writing and use it as a meditative practice to really work on every single day. But the thing that I'm repeating back to myself every single day in my ThinkUp app is going to be this basic outline. And then Roman numeral 6 here. Number 5. Now we're getting on to Roman numeral 5. Roman numeral 5 is the visualization aspect of the goal. So here we are going to put ourselves in the future pacing mode. All right? And we're going to do a couple things. In that future pacing, we're going to have 2 parts. One, we're going to pace the outcome. And in that outcome, we are going to visualize it, we're going to see it, and we're going to feel it. There's 2 different types of visualization that you can do. You can do a detached visualization where you see yourself doing it, like from an outsider looking in, or you can do an internal visualization where you see from your own eyes what's happening. And I think it's good to do both. But essentially you're seeing and you're feeling and you're involving all of the senses. What's really important about this visualization aspect is that you involve all of the senses. And as you do so, it's going to make it so that you are really, really honing in on like what the end outcomes look and feel like. And that's where the emotion starts to really crystallize and solidify. You can say, hey, I feel so grateful. I feel this momentary sense of accomplishment and pleasure and joy. I feel gratitude. But when you really see it at the end result, now it starts to tie what you said in your emotion at the beginning to the end outcome, which is, I think, incredibly, incredibly powerful. The second part of this visualizing experience, the future pacing, is I call this in my personal SDP document, I call this prophesying the battles. But what it really is I'm predicting the stumbling blocks along the way. So you want to predict the conquering behaviors is how I would describe it, actually. Because we don't want to be negative about this, right? We don't want to predict. I hesitate even putting stumbling blocks. Predict the conquering behaviors and situations. And what that means is, I'm going to have a blanket statement in my SDP that says something along the lines of, I might say, I see and feel, the end outcomes, and I can see and feel the money in my bank. I can see the money in my bank account being deposited. I can see my baseball card. I can see myself closing the last deal. I can feel what it's like to have accomplished this goal and just who I've become in the process as I reflect back. And then the predictive conquering behaviors is basically you saying, okay, now it's the difference between what we talked about at the top. It's the difference between the final outcome and the affirmation, like visualizing every step along the way. So when we get into this visualization part of the SDP, you're going to also visualize using Covey's tactics here, where you see here he talks about good affirmation with these 5 things. That's where you're going to be really visualizing like a few minutes each day, and I'll help you put together some meditations that will help with this stuff. Is you can think about the situations in which you might behave or have the tendency to behave against what you really want, and you visualize yourself not behaving against what you really want, if that makes sense. So the very last part here, and I can thank Matteo Rasmussen for this. He came up with it, although I know it's not original to just him because this is a pretty basic concept that's also just really profound. But he's the one that got me onto doing this in my own, which is, what does this represent for each of the roles in my life? What does this represent? The achievement of this goal for each of the roles. And I'm going to list out my roles and I'm going to say, what does the achievement of this goal represent for all of these things that I care about most? What does it represent in my ability to do good? What does it represent in who I've become? I want you to really just think about, like, what does it represent in terms of the results? And what does it represent in terms of my ability to, my capacity Harrison Kelly, I need to apologize to you, dude, because in my training in Cancun this last weekend, you said that the PC represents production capacity, and I know Covey does refer to it as production capability several times in the book, but you are right in the sense that he initially, I believe, refers to it as capacity. So I apologize for correcting you, and I love you, dude. Thank you for just being so on top of things. But so what I'm getting at when I say what does this represent for each of my roles, I want to say what do the immediate results represent? So what do these immediate results represent? And what does who I have become in these relationships represent? And what is my capacity? What will this do for my capacity long term? And again, we're going to go over every step of this along the way because I've got a call here in a couple minutes that I need to get off this training for. But this is ultimately, guys, what the beauty of the SDP is if you can go get just basic concepts in all of these things and then have a really long, I might actually just flash this to you guys here. Well, no, I'm not going to. So my SDP, I have two. I have one that just has this very, very basic outline that's in my Think Up that I repeat back to myself. And it's not super, super long, but it does hit all the points and it ties my mind back to the things that I care about, right? That is what the SDP does, and it's ingraining new belief patterns within me. The second document that I have is all of this as well, but it's me really digging deep into every aspect. And every day I'm working on it a little bit. I go into my SDP and I just type out, as many days as possible. I've been almost every single day working on it. But last week, guys, we talked about what your identity is and your unique mission. Okay. The way you determine that is just like, I want you to just think to yourselves, like, who am I at my core that nobody can change about me? What is my mission? Like, what are my unique talents and abilities? Because it is you at your core and with those unique talents and abilities that is going to allow you to go achieve something awesome and great in your life. And you're going to be able to do it in a way that nobody else can. That's what's going to make you irreplaceable in this goal itself, okay? That's what's going to make the achievement of your audacious goal better than if anyone else achieved the same goal. It's because you did it in your way with your unique talents and abilities. I don't mean disregarding all the processes that work. I mean like the achievement of the goal is through your unique talents and abilities, not disregarding what it actually takes in order to like go use this the platform and the structure that we built out here. It doesn't mean say, hey, I don't want to listen to Hayden. I don't really like this stuff. Someone who has the habit of not achieving their goals is going to look at this and be like, I want to build my own. I want to build my own version of this. It's like, listen, just piggyback off of what I've done. I'm piggybacking off of Napoleon Hill here. I have no problem saying Napoleon Hill is the one that inspired this stuff. But like, this has definitely evolved from what he was doing. And it's super profound, I think. And it connects it with 7 Habits. So the desired outcome, this is the last thing that I want to focus on, guys. When we get to this desired outcome here, the important principle to understand, I'm going to use blue, Moxie blue. The important principle to understand as we're talking about the desired outcome is that, one, the emotion. You want to put yourself in having achieved the goal that you want, and you want to say, okay, how does that feel having done this? What does that feel like? All right? And then you're going to be able to say like, actually, you know what, guys? I want you to copy this down, and I want you to start filling this out to the best of your ability, okay? So go back, write all this stuff down, copy it, and start filling it out to the best of your ability. And by the time we meet next week, I really want you to have listed all this stuff out and have something that you can put into Think Up. Last week I talked about you guys going and having your identity and your mission really locked down. I need you to go really work on this and make sure that you can put it down, put down basic concepts into Think Up, and then be able to build off of the document once you have those basic concepts. Guys, one thing that I just want you to recognize here is that I know that you all want to be really good people. I know you do. And I know that everyone, if you're a human being, you have something in you that is capable of greatness, okay? But everybody on this call, all of us, we've had things in our life that have held us back. And it's been our choices in response to those things that's held us back. It's actually been our choices in response to our own attitudes and behaviors habitually that have also held us back. But I need you to just disregard that for a second. no matter how scary your goal seems, I need you to put it in right away. And I need you to start getting serious and having some reverence about it. And look to the end and say like, what if I can actually go do what I think I want to? Now, it's not based on anyone else. It's based off of what I want. Then it would actually mean a lot to me becoming the best version of me. Because what's happening, you want to be a good person. And so there's this ideal version of you that's sitting at the end of the tunnel, and he's just like tossing ideas back to you and saying, you know, Hayden, it might be a good idea to go achieve this. You really want to be the best version of you? I already did it. I did these things. I became someone different than who you are now. You're going to have to kill off that guy. You're going to have to put away how you feel about all the things that don't matter and start believing in yourself and start trusting in your ability to connect with that higher power to go do something great. These are the things I would suggest. That's what your ideal self is doing. He's tossing these ideas back to you. And he's saying like, you deserve to go do something awesome. And so this is how you should do it. I have spent my life thinking about these concepts through the ups and the downs, through the bad decisions, through the good ones. And by bad, I mean like I've been through down some rocky roads. And I continue to have to, like, the demons inside me, they don't go away. They're just still sitting there being starved. And the more that they get starved, the more savage they are for food. And so that's kind of how we all are, right? But really, like, there's this other part of me that just is like determined at all costs to go make sure that those demons are starved and never given light. But when they are, put them back in their cage and go really truly think about like fulfilling my destiny to be the best version of me. Like none of us wants to be mediocre, guys. So like, don't let anyone above you, below you, aside from you, stop you from doing what's in your best interest. And anything that would distract you from going and achieving greatness, then just like, put it aside, guys. Put it aside. I have so many thoughts about this, but I really have to go. Next training, we are going to dive deeper into this. Would you guys like me to release more of this throughout the week before next week? How maybe I could do one of these a day actually and just dive into the SDP. And just maybe I could write it out with you guys too. How'd you like that? Should I do that once a day? Maybe I will. We'll see. Okay. I love you guys. Thank you for being on the call tonight. And please commit to going and filling out this you can pause this and go take screenshots and stuff, but please commit to go and filling out to the best of your ability this for next week. And even if you aren't confident in it yet, that's the whole point. You shouldn't be confident in achieving the goal. You should just want it. That's it. Okay. But don't let the former version of you hold you hostage with a noose around your neck and stop you from achieving your potential and achieving your greatness. I love you guys. This is the process of going and doing something awesome. It works. I promise you. Okay. And go put it into practice and you're going to